This video is sponsored by Fubo TV. So normally, I try to keep these top 10 videos under 20 minutes, but with some of the stories I found out about this 2011 class, I was shocked. From a Brown recluse bite, to a murder case, to the most hyped up prospect of the decade, this class had it all. The top 10 recruits from 2011 once dominated at near legendary status, and like many other classes I've talked about in the past, some live up to the crazy hype they received, while others did not. In this video, I'll be using the list from Rivals.com. Also, despite no quarterbacks making it in the top 10, I included the best one as well, since it's always interesting to hear about the best QB. Anyways, here it is, the 2011 recruits. Here is how their careers turned out. The unanimous top-ranked quarterback in 2011 was Jeff Driscoll. Standing at 6'3", 225 pounds, not only did Driscoll possess the size and arm strength of a great quarterback, he had 4.5 speed as well, making him nearly impossible to stop for any high school defense. The school he ended up choosing was the University of Florida, where before he ever played a snap, he was hailed as the next Tim Tebow. With big shoes to fill, Driscoll stepped into the starting role for the Gators in 2012. But really, to give the best perspective of Driscoll's career, it really starts with where the program was at the time. Florida had recently been the most dominant program in the country up to that point. With 2 national titles under head coach Urban Meyer, the Gators were the hotspot for the nation's best players, hence why Driscoll committed there. But in a 2012 article titled "How Urban Meyer Broke Florida Football," it outlines the decline of the football program due to Urban Meyer losing control of the locker room. There were major character concerns, with many players getting arrested during his tenure, and there was an alleged circle of trust where Meyer reportedly babied the team's most talented players, which created huge issues in the locker room. And ultimately, Meyer stepped down, leaving the program in a downward spiral. And that's right where Driscoll comes in. After Florida had struggled in 2011, Driscoll's first season helped the Gators bounce back. They achieved an 11-2 record and an appearance in the Sugar Bowl, but Driscoll would end up suffering a season-ending injury early into his 2013 campaign. And once he was out, Florida completely fell apart, suffering their worst season in 35 years. Trying to help the program bounce back once again, Driscoll assumed the starting role in 2014, but struggled to the point of being benched. It was at this point that he decided to transfer to Louisiana Tech, where he had much more success. Despite his struggles at Florida, Driscoll's lone season at Louisiana Tech showed that his talent was still there. His natural ability, along with what he put on tape, helped him to get drafted in the 6th round in 2016, and he has managed to stay in the NFL as a capable backup. It's pretty wild when you compare his final year at Florida to his NFL stats. It just goes to show that you can't overcome a team's dysfunction no matter how talented you are, but you can still find a way to succeed later on, like Driscoll did. Number 10. The top running back recruit of 2011 was Malcolm Brown. In the state of Texas, where football reigns king, Brown was truly at the top of Texas high school football at the time, rushing for over 2,100 yards and 24 TDs as a junior, and nearly 2,600 yards and 30 TDs as a senior. He also led his high school to their first ever Class 5A D2 state championship. He decided to stay local and commit to the University of Texas. Brown is built like a true bulldozing power back, the kind of dude that you could hand the ball off to 20 times a game. So, how did his college career turn out? To put it into one word, underwhelming. Malcolm Brown was never able to eclipse 1,000 rushing yards in a season. The greatest accolade in his 4-year career was second-team All-Big 12. He wasn't bad by any means. He just didn't live up to that best running back in the nation hype. After going undrafted, the Rams signed him. This is the same year they drafted Todd Gurley in the first round, so Brown was at best going to be his backup. He didn't receive many carries, but he impressed the coaches enough to maintain a roster spot. In the NFL, if you're not the feature starter at your position, they will find a way for you to contribute, which for Brown, that became special teams.
Because his partner decides to go outside, so he's just playing ball here. This isn't really like assignment football. He ends up filling a void where there's a hole right there that he fits, and the ball comes his way, And then just like Kansas City, he decides to pull the trigger, get up the field, and go right shoulder tackle Tyler Lockett. And you can see one thing, if you let the tape run, how much respect he has from his teammates. It's pretty cool.
Along with playing a critical role on special teams, Malcolm Brown found himself receiving more carries out of the backfield following Todd Gurley's injury and started to make a vital contribution to the offense. Currently, he's been in the league for 6 years, with his role on the team becoming increasingly important year by year. This is pretty cool considering this could have been just another dude who disappeared after college. Yet, he swallowed his pride and found a way to make it. Number 9. Nicknamed the Pastor of Disaster for being an ordained minister as well as a dominant football player, Ray Drew had received a scouting grade of 85 on ESPN. Even though we're using rivals for this video, I thought it would be interesting to show you guys what an 85 out of 100 represented according to scouts. It essentially lays out what a 5-star prospect is expected to be in college. A guy who can step in as a freshman and make an immediate impact. Someone so physically dominant, they should be one of the best college football players in the nation once their career is said and done. So, did Ray reach those levels? Not quite. The problem was, he was most likely going to move to outside linebacker when he got to Georgia. But after growing more and putting on some weight, the coaches had no choice but to put him on the defensive line. According to his scout profile, he lacked any go-to moves and was simply an effort type of pass rusher. He was always an upstanding guy and a leader among his peers. In fact, he was one of the team's captains as a junior and senior, but he was just never as impactful as the team had hoped. Drew managed just 7.5 career sacks, never really finding the right role consistently for Georgia's defense. After going undrafted, Drew managed to make it onto a few NFL practice squads before bouncing out to the Canadian Football League in 2016, which lasted 4 years before he decided to call it quits. Number 8. Carlos Williams out of Davenport, Florida was a flat-out beast. Listed at 6'2", 210, he was a 5-star safety, but really he was just an all-around athlete. Big, fast, could run the ball, and was an absolute nightmare for opposing coaches. He decided to commit to Florida State. Once he got on the field for the Seminoles, you could instantly see how much potential he had, but the problem was, safety never seemed to be the right fit. Throughout his first 2 seasons, he only received limited playing time as a safety and mostly a return specialist. Trying not to waste this dude's talent, head coach Jimbo Fisher decided to try a little experiment. He took Williams off of defense and moved him to the opposite side of the ball to play running back. This decision instantly paid off.
Williams to the right to the 40, Carlos to the 45, 50, down the sideline, nobody's gonna catch number 9, touchdown FSU, first carry, touchdown, he goes into the record books. Williams again, cuts it back, Carlos Williams, headed for the end zone, the Seminoles survive.
Throughout his final 2 years in college, Carlos Williams flashed moments of brilliance. He was never the featured guy since he had to share carries with Dalvin Cook, a soon-to-be first-round pick. But Williams' impact helped the team win a national title in 2014, and on potential alone, Williams was taken in the 5th round by the Bills in the NFL draft. Now, you want to talk about 5-star top 10 level talent? This kid entered college as a safety and then got drafted to play running back. That's the epitome of those kinds of beasts. Amazingly enough, just like in college, this was his first NFL carry.
Look at Carlos Williams, bangs into the end zone.
He scored a touchdown in each of his first 6 games, which was an NFL record. He also ran for 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins, twice. And ultimately, he had given the Bills Mafia something to be excited about. But sadly, this was the peak of his NFL career. Entering his 2nd season, Williams reportedly showed up to Bills training camp 30 pounds overweight, and later on would be suspended 3 separate times for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. He was actually cut before his 2nd season even began, and he never played another snap in the NFL. Currently, he is in the Canadian Football League. Now, really quickly, this video wouldn't be possible without today's sponsor. I'm gonna guess you're a sports fan like me, and perhaps you're paying a hefty fee for cable, but all you really want TV for is sports. Well, luckily, that's where Fubo TV comes in clutch. At half the price of cable, Fubo TV offers 100 of your favorite channels, including complete coverage of all your favorite sports, streaming all major sports league networks, NFL Red Zone, ESPN, ABC, CBS, and more. You can also stream select games in 4K. Plus, you can record your favorite games and shows on Fubo TV's cloud DVR and watch anywhere on any device. It's also super convenient because, like I said, it's half the cost of cable, requires no box or any cords, and it literally takes 2 minutes to sign up and start streaming games. You can also try it out for free and cancel at any time with no hassle. Sign up today for a risk-free trial of Fubo TV and get 15% off your first month by going to FuboTV.com/KTO. Again, FuboTV.com/KTO, and you should be good to go. Number 7. Ranked as the number 1 safety in the 2011 class, Hassan Clinton-Dix was a terror to opponents on both sides of the ball. He was an All-American and was teammates with another All-American, D. Hart. So there's a funny story about his name. Because of a common mispronunciation of his first name, his grandma decided to give him the nickname Ha Ha as an infant. Yeah, Ha Ha. He actually has preferred to go by that name since. He would eventually commit to Alabama, who was just beginning their reign of dominance, and amazingly, Ha Ha played as a freshman. Considering it's Alabama, that's a huge accomplishment in of itself. Then during his sophomore year, he led the team with 5 interceptions, and played an important role in the team's second consecutive national championship victory. He played a prominent role once again the following year, but he would suffer a late season injury, prematurely ending his season. Despite this injury to his knee, he was still seen as one of the top defensive prospects in the upcoming NFL draft, assuming he left school early, which he did. In the 2014 NFL draft, he was taken in the first round by the Green Bay Packers. I think it's safe to say that Ha Ha Clinton-Dix lived up to the 5-star billing. After becoming a consensus All-American in both high school and college, he earned a Pro Bowl nod and second-team All-Pro in 2016. He was continuously ranked in the NFL top 100 players by his peers, although he was out of football in 2020 following the release by the Cowboys. Our number 6 prospect has one of the most shocking stories in this whole video. Something tragic took place following his college career. But first, let's lay out his football journey. Coming out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, La'el Collins was the 2nd highest rated tackle in the nation. This dude was a force, pancaking anyone and everyone that was in his way. He decided to stay local and commit to LSU. Almost immediately, he became a difference maker, earning honorable mention All-SEC his sophomore year at left guard. Then after moving to left tackle, he helped turn LSU's offense into one of the greatest rushing teams in college football history. By the end of his senior year, Collins was seen as the best lineman in the SEC, a potential top 10 prospect, and possibly the best run blocker in the 2015 NFL Draft. But that's where things went horribly wrong. On April 24th, 2015, Brittany Mills was shot and killed. Collins had been linked to her since he had a previous relationship with her. NFL teams were majorly concerned about this since no one knew what was going on, and ultimately, Collins' draft stock plummeted. A crazy scenario ensued where he fell out of the first round. Then his agent threatened that Collins would hold out till the next draft if he was selected after round 3. The worst part about that statement was that his agent admittedly said later on that it was a bluff. Well, Collins went undrafted, and after finding himself in a nightmare situation, he decided to sign with the Cowboys as an undrafted free agent. Now, given everything that went down, most of it being out of this dude's control, this is where his story of redemption begins. Because offensive linemen aren't as easy to show their impact through stats, let's just talk money. When he arrived in Dallas, he received the minimum. Near the end of that contract, Collins signed a 2-year, $15.4 million extension in 2017. Then in 2019, he signed a 5-year extension with $35 million in total guarantees. Talk about overcoming an obstacle. This was one of the most shocking draft stories ever, but Collins found a way to grind back to the top. At the end of the day, talent is talent, and Collins has a lot of it. Oh, hey, look who we have here. Standing at a mere 5'9", 160 pounds, DeAnthony Thomas was lightning fast in high school. He was listed as an athlete because you could put him anywhere and he would dominate. but it seemed like his vision and explosiveness translated best to running back. After many expected that he would choose his hometown team, USC, he instead went to play for Chip Kelly at Oregon. DeAnthony fit Oregon's style of play perfectly. You're talking about a guy who could turn football games into track meets and ran at literal track meets while competing for the Ducks. As a true freshman, he scored 18 touchdowns and was the only player in the country to amass over 400 rushing, receiving, and return yards. From there, he only continued his dominance.
At the 6-yard line to Anthony Thomas. Thomas already got a crease. There he goes, and there he goes. He's gone. 94 yards on the opening play. Touchdown.
From gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated to putting up over 300 all-purpose yards in the 2012 Rose Bowl, DeAnthony decided to enter the NFL draft following his junior season, leaving Oregon with one of the nastiest highlight reels on YouTube. Unfortunately, this is when the game caught up to him. Thomas never had a huge role in the National Football League and got hurt constantly. When he had his moments, he was still one of the fastest dudes around, but in 2016, he had been replaced by Tyreek Hill, a dude who was even faster than DeAnthony was, which is crazy to think about. As of now, DeAnthony's not currently on a team after he chose to sit out in 2020. Number 4. As the top-ranked offensive tackle in the country, Cyrus Kouandjio, originally from Cameroon, had received offers from over 60 schools for how much he dominated Maryland high school football. He was a giant, and you can imagine the fear of opponents when lined up by his side was his brother, Ari. Ari was a year older and also a highly ranked offensive lineman. Ultimately, Cyrus was the better of the two, and long story short, they both committed to Alabama. Focusing on Cyrus, he became rock solid on the Crimson Tide offensive line, earning playing time as a true freshman, then becoming a core starter in 2012. That season, he helped Bama reach the national title, a game in which Alabama chose to frequently run it to his side because of how much he dominated the Irish defensive line. They went on to roll Notre Dame handily. 2013 was another dominant season. Cyrus earned All-SEC and consensus All-American honors. Just like HaHa Clinton Dix, Cyrus proved to be worth the hype, and after his junior season, he decided to enter the NFL draft. He was selected by the Bills in the second round in 2014. His NFL career got off to a rough start. He barely played until his second season, where he mostly saw time as a rotational lineman. Then, following his third season, he suffered a hip injury falling in his home. Then on April 20th, 2017, Cyrus found himself in the hospital following what this article called a bizarre incident. Police found him wandering undressed in a field, which they went on to determine that he needed medical attention. He was not arrested, but shortly thereafter, Cyrus was released by the Bills. He was picked up by the Broncos for 2 years as a backup before he was out of the NFL entirely and has since spent time in the XFL and the CFL. Number 3. This class was absolutely loaded with receivers. Guys like Kelvin Benjamin, OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and Sammy Watkins. But the one that topped the list was George Farmer. As the son of a former NFL player, Farmer had blazing speed. He was even faster than DeAnthony Thomas was in the 100-meter dash. And unlike DeAnthony, he ended up staying local and committing to USC. Although he was recruited to play wide receiver, George only appeared his freshman year as a running back, but didn't get much playing time. Then the following offseason, of all things, he suffered a serious bite from a brown recluse before summer workouts. This obviously halted his progress, and he only went on to catch one pass all year. Following a tough first 2 years, George was officially back to playing wide receiver, but before his junior season, he tore both his MCL and ACL. This dude couldn't catch a break. He was finally able to get on the field his senior year, and he only put up modest numbers, just over 300 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. This was a tough one for a once 5-star recruit. He did receive tryout options in the NFL and bounced around from the Cowboys and Seahawks practice squads. Ultimately, he never found a roster spot. Coming in at number 2, Curtis Grant was the perfect linebacker prospect. Considering his size, he was a very versatile and smooth athlete. He was a guy who could cover anybody, but also had excellent strength and the pursuit of a hawk. As one of the few unanimous All-Americans in high school that year, Grant would commit to Ohio State. The start of his career was underwhelming. He hardly had a role in his first 2 seasons, and it took him a while to get the speed of the game. But by his junior year, Grant had become an integral part of the Buckeyes defense, earning the captain nod as a senior. And in the first year of the college football playoff, Grant had 10 tackles against Alabama and 6 against Oregon, which helped the Buckeyes become the first college football undisputed national champions. Although he was the captain his senior year, he really didn't live up to the 5-star billing. And after going undrafted following his senior year, like our previous player, he fought to stay on practice squads for a few years. Although, he did finally get his shot after a while with the Giants on September 18th, 2017, when he was promoted to the active roster. He would end up playing in 10 games before he suffered a serious knee injury that got him carted off the field, never to return. This top 10 so far has been a mixed bag, with some guys who lived up to expectations, while others did not. But now, we have arrived at the unanimous number 1 overall recruit from 2011. He was one of the most dominant high school football players of all time, a dude who's considered a once-in-a-generation type of talent, Jadeveon Clowney. If you had rolled up to a South Point high school football game at the time, you would think there was a grown man playing against children. When Clowney was just a 14-year-old freshman, he stood at 6'3", 200 pounds, and he only got bigger from there. By the time he was a senior, he was a towering 6'6" and nearly 250 pounds. Not only was he bigger and stronger than everyone, Clowney was also a sprinter in track and had the speed to catch a running back in the open field. Clowney's senior year was so dominant, he recorded an astounding 162 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 11 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, 5 defensive touchdowns, and an unreal 29.5 sacks. You could also put him in the backfield and give him the ball, because why not?
Well, it is a decision that is now yours to make. Again, live here on SportsCenter, Jadeveon Clowney, where are you headed next year?
I'm headed to the University of South Carolina.
Then 10, take the shotgun snap. Quick drop. Under pressure. Jadeveon Clowney. It's a fumble. Kicked around by Melvin Ingram. Picked up. Touchdown. He's been under heavy pressure in the last couple series. He wants to roll left and try to throw it. Clowney's trailing. Boyd. Clowney. Clowney drop. Boyd. That's some speed. Series. Shotgun snap. Boyd looking under pressure again. Boyd dropped from behind. All-time season sack leader, J.D. Clowney. Let him eat. Let him eat.
Big Clowney.
The moment Clowney walked out on the field in a South Carolina jersey, we immediately realized how much of a beast this dude was. I'm not entirely sure who the first guy was to do this, but Clowney wearing the single-digit number as a defensive lineman was badass. Cause usually like the biggest beast wore a 99 or a 91, but that South Carolina number 7 jersey is so iconic now because of Clowney. We've seen other standout freaks like Chase Young do the same. 3 seasons at South Carolina and Clowney was dominant. This included a standout 2012 campaign led by 23.5 tackles for loss and 13 sacks. Unanimously regarded as the number 1 prospect in 2014, he left school early a 2-time All-American and SEC Defensive Player of the Year.
Scouts and evaluators, Clowney's 40.
Now the average 40 for a defensive end last year was 4.77.
Get more TV time.
So 4.47 would be above average then.
Now, his NFL career has been interesting. Some would say that he didn't live up to the hype, which, keep in mind, was off the charts. Things got off to a rocky start. He got hurt in his rookie year and didn't have a huge impact in his second season, but he turned a corner in 2016, finding his way to a Pro Bowl appearance in 3 consecutive seasons. It's been a bumpy ride since then. Clowney was traded to Seattle, only to not be re-signed after a year, and he missed most of this last season with the Titans. Now, to look at his career as a whole, Clowney has not been number 1 overall pick dominant, but he has not been a bust either, not even close. The thing is, his legacy is so much bigger than just a solid NFL career. Clowney is the embodiment of the freak athlete who had so much hype around him, but he was still able to find a way to live up to most of that hype. And more than that, the intrigue that he brought was so interesting. Not many people could stand out the way that he did in college. Whenever South Carolina was playing, I threw on the TV. You always could find number 7 instantly. And I think that's a good way to wrap up this video. There's not much else to say. Oh, wait. There was this one moment he had in his final college game.
63 yards by ASAP. Michigan goes trickeration here. Trying to get the third and short on the toss, and they get to the line, and the mark will depend on it. It'll depend on the mark.
I think he's got it.
No, just short. South Carolina will say, whoa, first down. Oh, look at this. Look at Spurrier and the South Carolina folks. They can't believe it, and I don't blame them. What is he looking at? Wow. Michigan at the 41. What a